Hi everyone and welcome to One Autistic Person. First of all, just need to address the fact that I have my living stimming toy on my lap. My cat is very attached to me today, so I didn't want to lock him out of the room or anything. So you may see him getting up, he may jump on me, he may jump down at any time. But it is a cat, and that's why I'm fiddling down here. It is my little pussycat's ears. So this is the 31st video that I'm doing in a 50 video series that's going through the statements of the Autism Quotient. The Autism Quotient is a diagnostic tool that is used as part of the autism assessment quite often. And when I was going through the diagnosis process, I realised that we were looking at everything as a deficit, as is required as part of the diagnosis process. And I wanted to sort of flip the narrative on that and look at things as a benefit or a positive rather than a negative, and see what mitigations and adjustments we can put in place for ourselves, and also sort of sharing that experience with each other. So not just me telling you how I experience it and what I do in relation to it, but also you all sharing with each other and with me as well. Because I think it's really important that as autistic people, we do share our lived experiences. I have changed the title of these videos ever so slightly because as I was going through these, I was kind of running out of being able to look at things overarchingly. Oh, he's gone. Overarchingly as looking at it as benefits rather than deficits, and I'm looking at them now more looking at the differences in it. And why those things may happen, but also what mitigations we can put in place. I'm also going to still look at positives and negatives within it as well, but I'm kind of also going to come at it from a differences perspective. So this is, as I say, this is the 31st video, which means the 31st statement within the Autism Quotient, and that is, I know how to tell if someone is listening to me, if someone listening to me is getting bored. So that is, for me, a slightly disagree. Now, the reason why I put slightly in it, like with any of these questions, I like to be thorough with them and absolutely correct. And I believe, pick up on this a lot more with people closer to me. I'm used to their idiosyncratic behaviour, so therefore I will pick up on things easily, or easily. I would say probably 50% of the time I get it right. So I didn't want to put definitely agree, because that for me would have meant at every single opportunity I would never be able to pick up on it. So I also did the RMET test, which is the reading the mind in the eyes test, which is a horrible thing to say. It just doesn't work with me verbally at all, which is found on the Embrace Autism, and that's on another video that I'm going to upload at the same time. That was very telling for me around maybe how much I can pick up on these things. So let's first of all have a look at some of what I feel are the causes for these, for me feeling this way. For me feeling this way? No, not right. Why I get this issue of not being able to work out when people are bored when I'm speaking to them. So for me, I feel like there is a sort of plethora of reasons why this could be the case. So a lot of different reasons why I think this happens with me. One being eye contact and understanding eye contact. And I often feel, and I found this when I was doing the test, that I kind of go straight to negative with things. But then try to tell myself that it's not, and I'm overthinking eye contact, both from me looking at the person, but also the person looking at me. What does their eye contact mean? Am I giving them the correct amount of eye contact? Am I overstaring? Is it obvious that I'm not actually looking at their eyes? And also, because I do have major issues with eye contact, I'm not really looking at the person as much as somebody else might do. So I think that has a major impact on it. Facial expressions. I've kind of looked into this, and in one of the studies, and I'll link the study in the description, has said that because of the fact that autistic people have our faces react differently, that obviously causes issues for other people reading our emotions. But because of the fact that our brains work on how our facial expressions are working, then we're basically speaking a different language, and it's a two-way thing. That language is a two-way thing. Our face is saying one thing, and the other person's face is saying a different thing. and we're not able to pick up on whether on that because of the fact that our brains work, our neurotransmitters tell us that our face should be a certain way, and the other person's face isn't the way that we're expecting it to be, so therefore can't necessarily pick up on this. And this isn't just boredom, this is pretty much the scale of all emotions. So I'm going to kind of look at it not just from a boredom perspective as well in this, but a broader sort of sense of understanding when how somebody's feeling and how somebody's thinking. Body language, again, I always misread body language. I don't know what the body language should be for somebody to be bored. Obviously, if somebody sat there cross-armed like this and it's very exaggerated, but then that might not be. I used to work with the accountant in the place that I used to work. He used to sit there like this the whole time, and it always looked like he was bored, and he really wasn't. I knew him quite well, and he wasn't bored. It's just that's the way he sat to listen. So there's so much complexity and nuance in the way that people's body language is that I just can't pick up on it, and I'm sure many other people feel that way. Also, processing capacity. Our processing can be slower. We can sometimes have to think more about something. So by the time we've picked up the fact that somebody's bored, or any thought process, but certainly if somebody is bored, if we're talking, then it can take us a bit longer to understand that. So we might carry on way longer. So therefore, the person would actually be really bored by the time they picked up that we've picked up on it, and then we're in a flow. So that means that it's really difficult to stop ourselves. So the boredom gets worse. So maybe it's not that necessarily that people would get any more bored if we were able to pick up in it, and the content we're talking about isn't any more boring or anything like that, because I think maybe I am just really boring. But actually, the fact that we've taken longer to pick up on it means that it will take longer for us to understand that someone's bored, and they're more bored by the time that we've realised it. And we're making them more bored because we're not stopping ourselves earlier. So again, whole load of complexity. I also find that because I'm holding a lot of information in my head at any one time, that I'm worried I'm going to lose that information. So I will then blurt it all out and then go into a flow of talking about those things that I've already talked about. So therefore, it makes it really difficult for me to know when somebody's bored, because I'm in that flow, and I'm not paying attention to what's going on around me. I'm paying attention to getting that information out of my head from all of this information that's there. Overarchingly, just social situations and interactions are difficult for me personally, because I have social anxiety. I also have to deal with the anxiety of being in that environment, and that can sometimes lead to me talking more. I think also ADHD leads to that as well, that I talk more because of my ADHD traits, which can then lead to boredom, and I don't pick up on the fact that people are bored. Sensory distractions. If there is a sensory distraction that I'm having at the time, I might be paying more attention to that than I am paying to somebody's body language or facial expressions. So therefore, not picking up on what's actually happening with that person. There was somebody who's commented on my videos, and I apologize if anybody else has felt this. The lighting that's behind me, sorry, you can't see that side, you can only see this side. They said about the fact that the changing lights was distracting for them, and that's a perfect example of the different sensory experiences. I didn't pick up on the fact that might bug people. It's actually really, really clear that's possibly the case. So I've changed it because of the fact that because I don't want people to feel like they're distracted when I'm talking on these videos, because I think the content is important. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing it. Another thing, it depends on the content of the conversation. So if I'm feeling bored, I might pick up on the fact that somebody else might be feeling bored. If there's a two-way boredom in the conversation, I might be able to pick up on it. And if I'm really interested in something, I'm less likely to pick up on the fact that somebody is getting bored. Because I feel my interest in it more than I can pick up on anything around me. So if I'm lost in that really intense interest and talk about something I love, then it's less likely I'll pick up on the fact somebody's bored. And I think my brain goes, well, keep talking. Nobody would ever be bored about this, even though quite often they are. And it also can depend very highly on the person that I'm talking to. So depending on how well I know somebody, depends on how likely I am to pick up on the fact that somebody's bored, as I said previously. So yeah, and for me, there's different. I'm going to go into the next bit in relation to how I may perceive things based on how well I know somebody. So if I know somebody well, then I probably act one way, and if I don't know somebody so well, then I act different. I don't pick up on things as well. So therefore, there are different reasons for that. So let's have a look at, first of all, people that I know well. So with people that I know well, I'd say I probably pick up on this around 50% of the time, but only because I know their very specific sort of nuanced reaction. And I can pick up when they are bored, because in the past they've told me that they've been bored and we've had conversations about it. So therefore I know. So they've communicated that with me rather than me having to pick up on the fact that they are bored, or it's been very obvious afterwards more that they have asked me not to talk about that in such detail, or whatever it is. There's reasons why I can know with this, and it's not necessarily that I've just picked up on their body language necessarily, but I have been able to associate it with when they've told me that they've got bored with it. The thing with this one, when I do know somebody well, though, I will often still continue, even though I know they're bored. I feel safe to do that, but I also want to get out of my head what is there. So, like I said before, that getting in that flow situation, I will do it, but I will probably hold myself back a little bit and sort of finish it earlier if I can tell that those things are happening. But I feel safe to be able to do it, so it doesn't really change much how I interact with the person. It just means that I am aware of the fact that they are bored, and maybe do some of the mitigations that I found that I'm going to talk about in a second. And I know that I am generally okay with finishing what I say with people that are close to me, and they understand my need to get out what I am thinking, and that I'm not being rude. My housemate has a hand gesture, so it's not quite putting his hand up, but it's kind of saying, I want to have some kind of interjection here. I need you to know that I want to talk, or that I need to say something. It might not even be related to the thing, but it's him saying, either I've had enough and I need to tell you that, but he lets me finish it. So it's not a matter of saying shut up. We've kind of come to this place where I know that means that I need to end it soon, so that I can then find out what it is that he wants to say, whether it's that I need to go and do something, because I quite often will start talking to him when he's just about to leave the house. So there's various different things that could possibly mean, but that gesture, it allows me to know, and I'll go more into the mitigation side of things, because I've kind of done that now with a few other people in my life, so that I know, and I've done it at work as well, to say, let me know in this way. So it's a helpful mitigation, but I'll get into that in the mitigations bit. So yeah, for me, when I know somebody well, it is a matter of the fact I can pick up on it a lot more, not because of the fact that I've learnt to do it, as in learnt from the body language. I've learnt more from just knowing that they've said to me that they were not necessarily getting bored, but I was going on. Is usually what it is that I was going on about something, which has then led me to understand a little bit more about where their specific nuanced behaviours and reaction to being bored comes from, or for wanting me to stop for whatever reason. So now let's have a look at people that I don't know as well. So for me, some of the reasons why I struggle with this a lot more with people that I don't know as well, and this kind of covers pretty much everybody out of my very close circle of people around me that I speak to all the time. For the first one I was thinking about was that people hide the way they are thinking, and this kind of falls into the same thing again around not being able to read between the lines. This means their body language is even harder to read, because it's often not actually representative of what they're truly feeling, so that they will change their body language to try and appear more interested in something, but maybe a neurotypical person or somebody who has a better understanding of body language and eye contact and facial expressions would be able to work it out for more micro sort of expressions that or body language that I'm not picking up on myself, but other people might do. But also, people in general have a very wide range of body language and voice tones, or at least I perceive it that way, that it's so different for each person what boredom looks like, or what anything looks like, what enjoyment looks like, what excitement looks like, what frustration looks like. There's such an array of different things that way people could be feeling, and a massive array of the way that people do to present that, even the way they naturally present it will be different depending on how their environment has taught them to react to it. I think those ranges may be easier in general for neurotypical people. But for me, I'm already confused by so much in a social situation. And then I'm overthinking that the nuances are hard to pick up on. So I will massively overthink about the fact that I'm not picking up on it. I'll know that I'm not picking up on it. I'll know I'm not picking up on something, but I won't know what it is. So I can't pinpoint, should I stop talking? Should I not stop talking? How bored are they? Are they bored enough for me to stop? There's so many, like I say, that nuance is so difficult for me to pick up on. Whereas I feel like other people are able to pick up on the fact that this is a range of reactions. These are a range of body languages and tones of voice and facial expressions that show the potential that somebody's bored. I feel like that's a really wide group of potential ways of a person reacting, whereas it feels like everybody else or lots of other people are able to go, yeah, that is what that is. Or maybe it's just that people maybe it's that people don't think so much about the fact that that person's bored, and if they think that they are, they'll just stop, whereas I struggle to do that as well. So yeah, it's a very, very complex situation. Social anxiety really does not help with this as it exasperates my sensory differences, and obviously my anxiety related responses. So like having sensory issues going on around me distract me, so that means that I'm not paying as much attention, and the anxiety that I'm feeling all the time means that I am in a fight or flight response most of the time, so I am not picking up on everything around me. I'm picking up on the things that I need to pick up on, and my brain doesn't go to, I need to pick up on a social situation for some reason. I don't need to pick up on body language. It's more, I don't get any of it. So I do think anxiety definitely has a big part to play. The fact I'm constantly anxious all the time, I clearly am not thinking about those nuanced situations or overthinking them. I think not thinking about them and overthinking about them has exactly the same detrimental impact on trying to work out whether you understand somebody's body language if you clearly have major issues around picking up on somebody's body language. So let's have a look at some of the mitigations and adjustments that I've put in place for myself with this. So let's have a look at that now. So some of the mitigations and adjustments that I put in place, I've kind of already touched on this one already, which is communicate and explain to people that if they would like you to stop, could they show you that they would like to do this in some way. And like I say, this for me has been an agreed body language. It's a body gesture, sorry. So my housemate kind of just goes like this and moves his hand like that because it's not really a natural gesture for him. He doesn't do this very often. For me, that just looked like I was moving, so it wouldn't work for me telling somebody else that. The reason why I've gone for a body movement, a gesture, for me, if somebody says something to me while I'm doing this kind of, I'm in this kind of situation, I would be really jarred by it, and then I would struggle to continue with the conversation because my brain wouldn't be able to continue the conversation. I'd feel my brain would feel blocked, and I wouldn't be able to continue. It would stop me in my tracks completely at the point of them saying something, and then I wouldn't be able to get to the end of that thing that I was saying, and then I'd have to be constantly thinking about the thing that I've forgotten about that I was in my train of thought for. So it's then going to disturb the rest of the conversation. So a hand gesture works, and I've done this with the people at work that I feel I can trust to say this to them and be honest with them. So yeah. So it does work. It works for me personally. I'm not saying it would work for everybody, and some people might want to be told, and that's fine. But having some way of communicating it that's helpful for you, that's going to be able to help you carry on with that conversation, but you realise that other person either is getting bored, or they want to say something, or there's something changing in the scenario that you're not seeing. For some people, researching body language and eye contact signals can be helpful. I personally find this confusing and adds to my anxiety, because I find that I'm then trying to think back to when I've looked at body language and what does that mean and what does that mean, and then I'm overthinking it, and then I don't really engage in the communication because I'm too focused on the body language and I'm still getting it wrong. But I do know this has helped for some other people. This has worked when I've worked out what my close people look like when they are bored, but not in general. So yeah, I did research into what certain body language things mean, and looking at people's bored faces. It did work with them picking up on the people around me, but because I think I just struggle with being able to pick it up on other people's faces. I need to know a person's face to know that that's the face they're pulling, that's the expression that they have on their face. I need to know the person's face enough so that I don't get distracted by other things, and it could mean something completely different on a different face, because there's many faces in the world, around 8 billion of them, that are all different. So and they're all going to react slightly differently. So it did work slightly when I looked into this after I had a conversation about this with my housemate, and I kind of again can pick up. He's probably the person I can pick up the most with everybody around it. And that has been with a little bit of research, but that's the only person it's ever worked with, because I wasn't anxious about looking for it afterwards. So in just general, it's not going to work for me in general, but it might work for other people. So I'm throwing it in there as I know that it has helped for others. The other thing as well, if you can break your communication up, we have a tendency, well, some of us, me included, to talk and jump from subject to subject. I've been trying to recognise breaking points where I can ask for input or allow a little breathing space for my communication companion, the other person in a communication situation, sort of allowing those breathing spaces, and sort of realising there are times when I'm talking where there is a natural break in things. I'm not great at working that out. I see, like I say, I jump from one subject to another. When I'm having conversations, I tend to go off on tangents, so it's difficult, but I am learning a lot about that bit, and that bit I'm finding a bit easier, because that comes down to me recognizing when I'm in a situation to do something, not recognizing something in another person. It's me being able to recognize, oh, this is a potentially natural breaking point. And what I'm finding is that I'm trying to do that more while I'm communicating to my best friend, who is also neurodivergent. That means that when it's a bit strange, then I can just say to him that's what it is quite easily. But he often doesn't pick up on it either anyway, because it's just, we're communicating, and that sometimes happens. And I do find that I am getting a bit better with it because of that, because it's relying on me and relying on my knowledge of where I am with a conversation, and where I know, like, I've talked about that now to a point where I don't really need to talk about it much more, and I think I can keep that information in my head for a bit longer, so I'll wait for that. And it gives that breaking point. It just makes it a little bit easier if you're able to do that. So that's my little bit of input into this one. I do find all of this very difficult, as you will find out if you watch my video on the test that I've just done, the reading minds in the eyes test, the RMET, which I'm going to post at the same time as this. You'll see how much I really didn't struggle with it to an extent, because I just picked as the test tells you to, but the number that I got makes it very clear of how difficult I find it to read people's eyes, and I just don't get it. And even when I was watching the video back after I'd done that video, I could see how I was wrong. I could see, or at least I saw different things in it. I don't even know whether I was right on the answers, but when I looked back on it. But I could see why I was seeing a completely different thing the next time I was looking at it. So it isn't even like I'm misreading it. I'm just not getting it, and it now makes a perfect sense to me why I've always got people wrong, because I can't read people's eyes. I can't read people's body language. I don't understand people's facial expressions, and their tone of voice confuses me. So no wonder I live in a world where I don't understand everybody, but I'm relatively okay with that being the case. But I will keep trying, as we all do. So love to hear your opinions on this. So as always, if you could comment on this and let me know what you feel about this, where you struggle with it, anything you do to make yourself feel like you can deal with this a bit better, any sort of techniques that you've learned or been taught, that would be fantastic. I am going to do the thing I hardly ever ask people to do. I'd love it if people would subscribe, because it does allow my videos to get out to more people, and I want as many people as possible to see me. It's not necessarily true. It freaks me out, the fact that I know that there are people watching my videos, but I am coming to terms with that, because I want everybody to have the information in it. It's just that I'm in them that's the problem, not because I want people to have the information, but that has to come through me, because I want people to have that personal side. So I'm not going to suddenly start doing it where I'm not on the screen. I will always be on the screen, so you might like that or not like that, but that is what's going to happen. Anyway, tangenting. Thank you very much. As I say, comments are always the most welcome, regardless, even though I would love people to subscribe, share, and do the other bits. What was the other one? Like, share, comment, subscribe. Like, share, comment, subscribe. They all help me be able to get to a bigger audience, and that is the whole intent of this channel, is that the more people that can see it, the more people I can potentially help, and more people that you guys can all help as well, because of the fact that you're sharing your experiences. And I'm loving reading the comments, and I will, wherever I possibly can, respond back to you. So thank you very much, and I hope to see you on the next video. Thank you. Bye.